Hello there and welcome. This is Mikhail or Michael speaking, and as always, I would like to say thank you all who decided to support me, be it through Patreon, PayPal, or Super Thanks. I really appreciate your generosity, so thank you friends, and have a blessed day. Now, today's video we will start in Zaporozhye, in the General Arikhiv direction, where Russian offensive continues, with more territorial changes to show. Here Russians are attacking from village of Verbovo, as well as from the north and south of it. Heavy fighting was also reported in and around Rabotina as Russians attacked in the direction of this village from Novoprokopivka all across the front, attacking this Ukrainian-controlled village from all possible directions. There were also reported Russian attacks in the direction of this road from the settlement of Kapani. However, Ukrainians here don't sit idly, as they continuously counterattack Russians all across this entire front line in an attempt to stop their advance and retake some of the previously lost positions. And so far, it seems that Ukrainians are able to control the situation on the front line without Russians achieving any significant breakthroughs yet. It seems that Russians doubled down on the idea of closing off this bridgehead, as Ukrainians doubled down to hold it for as long as possible. And there are news that are coming in support of this idea, that Ukrainians are reinforcing this front by providing fresh reinforcements. Currently, they are stationed in Malotakmachka, and as report suggests, will be distributed evenly across the entire front in support of Ukrainian formations already fighting in this area. Russians too reinforce this front, with total amount of troops currently fighting in this area reaching about 50,000, and it seems that more will come. With it, Russians will able to equalize the numbers, and with superiority in artillery and aviation, equilibrium that is currently established across this entire front might diminish relatively quickly. Of course, here Russians are fighting not only to close off this bridgehead, but also to capture Malotakmachka, Novodanilovka, and of course important fortified city that is currently used by Ukrainians as a logistical hub, Arikhiv. Despite all Ukrainian attempts to stop the Russians, they were able to advance to the west of Rabotina, and as a result of successful storming operations, were able to capture this force line, in which a very important trench is located. Generally speaking, if you look at this photo, you can see that Rabotina at this point is nearly destroyed. Buildings are ruined to a point in which they can barely be used as strongpoints. Which of course begs a question, what is strategical value of Rabotina? To help with that, here is a photo of all the fortifications that are situated within and around Rabotina. As you can see, Russian forces were able to advance along this force line and capture these fortifications. And then Russians used it for further attacks in the direction of Rabotina, reached this street at the very outskirts of Rabotina, established a bridgehead, and are currently fighting for the center street that is located here. Again, here on this photo, you can see the center street of Rabotina, for which Russians are currently fighting hard. You can also see this important line of fortifications with a pretty difficult trench network system, for which both Russians and Ukrainians are currently fighting with all they have. Those fortifications are too important to give up without a fight, and Ukrainians are currently throwing all reinforcements they can to stop Russians from advancing within Rabotina, because if it happens and Russians will reach the center street, they will capture this small stronghold, which will then allow them to attack in the direction of those set positions to the very rear. The control over this network system is very fluid, with Russians controlling about half of it, and there are currently heavy fighting that are ongoing for the control of those said trench network systems. Then there is this photo, which shows Ukrainian and Russian fortifications that are situated within the bridgehead. As you can see, there are no fortifications within Rabotina itself, however, many around it. What I'm trying to say is, Rabotina itself has no strategic value as it is virtually destroyed. However, these fortification lines that were built by Ukrainians and Russians all throughout the hard fighting of summer offensive are strategically important. As you can see, the density of fortifications around the village of Rabotina is much higher than anywhere else on the front. And this is the sole reason why Russians are currently fighting for this control. Other Ukrainian-controlled fortifications are well spread out and can be stormed one after another. Situation in Rabotina is different, as all of the fortifications remain fairly close to each other, and forces defending it can reinforce those fortifications relatively quickly. At this point in time, not only do I want to know your opinion on the general strategic and tactical situation near Rabotina and Orechov, but also would like to ask you to consider supporting this video if you liked it so far. A like, comment, and of course a subscription would help, as those actions help promote this video to a wider audience, thus helps spread the message. Thank you for your consideration and support, and let's move on to other portions of the front. From Rabotina, we move to the so-called Vremivka tactical bridgehead, which of course is not existent, and some people call it Velika Novosilka sector because of the relatively big town here that supplies the entire Ukrainian force fighting in this area. Here Russians launched an attack in between settlements of Novodonetsk and Kermenchik, and as a result of that captured significant portions of the territory. This is exactly how much that was, and you already see the importance of this territorial change. First, it saves the settlement of Kermenchik of direct Ukrainian assaults, and increases buffer zone around it, and does the same for Novodonetsk, as this small village is now protected from potential Ukrainian attacks that would be coming from the southwest. Now, generally speaking, it doesn't seem that Russians are planning something big in this area, but again, so far, maybe there are plans to capture Velika Novosilka and re-establish the bridgehead that Russians lost all throughout Ukrainian summer counteroffensive. If you remember, about a few weeks ago, Russians launched several massive armored assaults from Priyutne in the general direction of Novodarivka and Rivnopol. So maybe it is a precursor of something big coming. Now we have news of Russians attacking on the right flank of the bridgehead. And if those attacks continue, not only from the right flank, but also from the left, with renewed Russian attacks in the direction of Staromayorsk and Urozhaino, which are situated here, only then we can speculate that Russians are planning yet another offensive here. Perhaps Russians decided to start attacking here as well, in support of Russian attacks in the direction of Orechov, so that Ukrainians will be forced to relocate some of their troops, thus spread them thin and increase the possibility of Russians penetrating the front line, either here or near Rabotina, with Russians now attacking near Marinka, near Avdiivka, Bakhmut, in Liman and Kupiansk. We have at least 7 directions of Russian attacks that are happening simultaneously across all fronts. And with Ukraine lacking with Western support, and if the situation continues as it is, at some point Ukrainians will find themselves without ammunition, equipment, and manpower, and due to those factors, and logically speaking, the defense of the Ukrainian forces will crack at one or several places. From here, let's visit Marinka and discuss situation around Ukrainian-controlled village of Pobeda. As a result of successful offensive operations happened in this area, Russian forces were able to capture this territory, thus entering Avdiivka itself and initiating the battle fort. About 24 hours ago, they entered this farm, established a bridgehead, and withstood all Ukrainian counterattacks in attempt to throw them back. And as soon as Ukrainian counterattacks stopped, Russians launched yet another series of assaults, not only from recently acquired farm, but from recently acquired positions within the fields, as well as along the 00532 road in the direction of Pobeda, and initiated the battle for its center. At this point in time, multiple resources suggests that Russians were able to establish a bridgehead at the very outskirts, but the positions here are still under great threat of Ukrainian counterattacks, which are happening regularly, but of course capture of this farmstead, as well as control over this road, allows Russians to relatively safely reinforce Russian formations fighting within the village, and quickly retake positions that are lost due to the Ukrainian counterattacks. As I speak, Russians are slowly but surely expanding a zone of control within the village, and some reports suggest that they already reached its center. However, to call this a capture is a bit premature, so I would suppose we should wait few days. With this, I end today's video. Hopefully it was to your liking and was informative enough. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.